there's no real way of preparing yourself mentally, I believe. It's just coming to terms with the fact that you're going to be going to that dark place, and you just got to put your seatbelt on and enjoy the ride. My 200 miles, I fully respect and fully understand, is as big as someone's first 5k. I was expecting it to take 40 hours and it took 52, so that's another 12 hours in the hurt locker. My name's Will Robinson, and I've just run 200 miles around a 480 metre square in central Bristol. It's called Queen Square.
I think the best place to start is the obvious question: why?
If I got a pound for every time I got asked that over the last 6 months, I'll be a millionaire. But it basically boils down to three reasons. Firstly, it's to raise money for my mate Will, who had a life-changing accident a couple of years ago and resulted in him being in a wheelchair. So it's to raise money for him to get a off-road e-bike so that he can get back into nature, back hanging out with mates, and get back to having something which he loved taken away from him. Secondly is to encourage an active lifestyle. It's a massive driver of why I do it, and it's to hopefully inspire people to take on their own challenges. And finally, it's to bring the communities together. So we had a lot of running groups come and join, and hopefully it showed that there are other groups here in Bristol that you can get involved with and really get behind.
It's a interesting challenge because you don't just have the physical aspect of it. I've done something similar. I did a 24 hours around a 400 metre track once, and that was one of the most difficult things I've done in terms of just the pure monotony. Obviously, you're doubling up on that, which is pretty insane because I did just over 100 miles in that. 200 miles is such an insane distance as is, and when you add in that mental element to it as well, it just adds an extra layer onto it. When you were going into it, talk to me about how prepared you were. Were you naive to what you were going to face, or were you 100% prepared to what was coming?
Well, I mean, I've been doing ultra for a long time, and I did a similar loop challenge last year in the fact that I rode 1,000k around a 3k loop here in Bristol, and that was 35 hours, so I knew physically it was going to be okay to run the 200 miles. I knew that the mental aspect was going to be more of the issue, but there's no real way of preparing yourself mentally, I believe. It's just coming to terms with the fact that you're going to be going to that dark place, and you just got to put your seatbelt on and enjoy the ride, and you're going to pop out the other side and hopefully achieve those three objectives.
How do you accept the fact that you're going to be living in that well for a considerable amount of time?
It's a very good question. How do you accept the fact that you're going to have pain? Well, my why is my big driver. And my why it basically boils down to two words, and that's lucky envelope. Lucky because I'm currently sat here in Bristol. I'm extremely lucky. We're all lucky to have it's a sunny day. There's students going to university that haven't been bombed down in a war zone. We are extremely lucky to have running water. Most of the world would drink the water that we have baths in. So we are lucky. I'm lucky because I've got a supportive family, supportive friends, and as well as a body and a mind that can go those places. So that's where I remind myself when I'm in those dark places that I am lucky. And in Will's perspective, I've not had something which I love being taken away from me, so I'm extremely lucky to be able to continue to doing ultras and to continue to go into those places and getting perspective from these events. The fact that life is actually so easy currently at this moment in time, I'd rather go to those places and actually experience a bit of hardship. And then envelope, I believe that everyone's an envelope. Everyone's got those four corners. Everyone's got those limits, and that's what drives me. And I believe there was always one tribe member who wanted to know what was on the horizon, and annoyingly, that's the way it boils down to. We are born into this world with a body without any scars, without any experiences. So I'd rather go to those limits, feel what they are like, and then hopefully jump over the other side, and then bam, your limits just got a little bit further. So when I'm in those dark places, that's where I remind myself of the lucky envelope.
It is a constant battle though, and I think somebody described it to me once as, in Harry Potter or something like that, where the wizards are fighting and their wands are, pushing against each other, and you can just see the thing going back and forth and back and forth. And that's kind of what ultra running is a lot of the time. It's that teetering between, I feel great, these are the ways that I continue to feel great, or I feel dreadful, how do I make myself not feel dreadful? In those times where maybe the dark thoughts are coming in, like you say, you lean to your why, but is there any specific things that you tell yourself or do in those moments to get yourself back into a positive headspace?
Well, I mean, I literally just remind myself of the lucky envelope, the fact that I am lucky to have this privilege of feeling this pain, and the fact that this isn't real pain, this isn't real hardship. But something I have realised is the further you go and the longer you do ultra for in the duration of time, the bigger those highs and lows get. And I experienced the biggest runner's high I've ever had in my life going around that loop, and also the lowest I've ever felt. And it's really just given me perspective that mentally we are far more capable than I will ever believe, and our bodies are literally able to go so much further than I've ever realised. It's just having perspective, the fact that I'm in this pain right now, and guess what, I'm going to pop out the other side and I'm going to be on the biggest high of my life.
Do you tell yourself, well, this is going to be done at some point? Like, I'm not going to be doing this in a couple of days. Is that something that you tell yourself? Yeah, definitely.
And the fact that in this time next week I'm going to be sat down behind a desk wishing that I was running around a square.
I think that's a really difficult thing for some people to comprehend, though. Like, you've essentially gone out and run 480 meter loops for 200 miles for quote unquote fun.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a constant battle of people asking why. And it's some people get it, but some people don't. And it's trying to get those people who don't understand it to maybe gain a perspective as to why you do it.
I want to just read a message you sent me, actually, when we first connected. I'm here to encourage people to become more active. And I thought that was a really poignant thing to be saying after you yourself have achieved something that, you could quite rightly show off about a little bit if you wanted to, but straight away you're thinking about this as a vehicle to get more people to do things, which I think is very admirable. What has it given you, sport and running and ultra, and what are the reasons that you want to get more people to be active and do these sorts of things?
What has it given me? Well, ultra has given me so much, and it's become a sport and now a massive passion. It has given me perspective on pain, hardship, where we are currently in the world. But then again, when you're not doing a loop, you see these amazing places. I've been fortunate enough to run in some epic locations. I've ridden across quite a few continents and experienced some experiences which you couldn't pay for. So that's what it's given me. And why do I want to get people active? Well, because I want them to experience the same thing. It always boils down to different challenges. My 200 miles, I fully respect and fully understand, is as big as someone's first 5k. And I want to give out a message, the biggest message possible, to say, listen, as long as you break it down, you can do it. And then guess what? I bet you'll be signing up for that next 10k race.
Breaking it down, that's an interesting phrase to be using when it comes to 200 miles. And, everyone talks about chunking a marathon down to park runs. how are you chunking down 200 miles?
Well, I broke it down to 3 hours, 3 hour sections, because that's when I got my next feed. Every 3 hours I pulled in. I was given some food, so I was able to walk a lap, which in hindsight I should have done more walking earlier on in the event, and it now enabled me to have a little breather, get some good food in, which was provided by my nutritionist, and actually have a bit of a reset and think, listen, right, seatbelt on again, we've got another 3 hours to go. So that's one way I broke it down. I also broke it down to every 100k I gave myself a shower, fresh pair of kit, and then that was a big reset. It was also a big moment to realise that this time next time I'm in the shower, I would have completed 200k. That's only 100k left. That's fine. I nearly just said anyone can do 100k, but you've just done 200k, so what's stopping you from getting out there and putting another 10 hours in your legs?
10 hours is a lot of time though, and those legs I'm sure were pretty sore towards the end. You said about walking earlier.
Yeah.
I've noticed that's something that you've said a couple of times when people have been asking you on socials and stuff, when you've been doing question boxes on Instagram or whatever. I think you yourself would have said maybe you went out a little bit too hard. What was that excitement? What was that?
Definitely excitement. I've been planning this for a year. I knew that I wanted to run 200 miles around Queen Square. I just needed to find my why. And so I've had a year of stewing on it, thinking about it, planning it, and then all of a sudden you're standing on the edge of the cliff and you think, now's go time. And so obviously excitement's going to jump in there. And I'm happy to admit that, because you've just got to be excited about something you've been planning for a year. But then again, the other issue was having a fresh pair of legs come and join you throughout the whole event. I looked at my Strava and I spent 10 hours at tempo. I did a sub 19 hour 100 miler. I remember looking down and thinking, I'm actually running sub 4, it was a 4-minute K, and I was like, oh no. So yes, I should have slowed it down. I should have been doing 6-7 minute Ks and then cracked on that way, because then I would have finished a lot sooner. I was expecting it to take 40 hours and it took 52. So that's another 12 hours in the hurt locker, where I've never actually experienced such bad ultra pain in that situation. It was absolutely excruciating. There was actually a film crew filming the event, and I can't wait to see what they come up with, because it's just going to be a bloke running around or walking around a square crying. So it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with. But yeah, by walking earlier, giving your legs less stress, less fatigue, will only reduce that fatigue and pain. So
describe that pain if you can. Is it possible to describe it?
The only way I can describe it is honestly having 50 knives in each quad, straight into the bone, going up and down, up and down. And I've learned ways of taking pain away from certain areas in your body. In the middle of the night, I was given salt and vinegar crisps, and from the chippy as well. And I literally got the salt and vinegar and just put it straight on my mouth ulcers because of having so much sugar. And that just gave me 10-15 minutes of no pain in the legs, but actually my mouth was on fire. Or I purposely kicked a post on Queen Square, because then all of a sudden my toe was hurting more than my legs. So that hopefully actually describes the pain that I was in and the levels I was wanting to go to actually give my legs a bit of a break. It's a strange world out there.
One of the beautiful things about this event was, and I think this is true when it comes to these sorts of one area events as well, is that you do have such an incredible community joining you throughout. And that was very, very, very clear to see with this. Loads and loads of different groups of people coming and joining throughout the day and the night. That must have been brilliant. Overwhelming as well at times, maybe?
Yeah, definitely overwhelming. We had so many people come along to this event, and it was actually quite touching because all of a sudden my second reason why, to encourage people to be active, was actually there in front of my eyes. And obviously when you're tired, and I didn't really sleep during this event, it made me quite upset. And there was even a few occasions when I looked at my phone, jumped on Instagram and had message requests, people saying, "You've inspired me, I've now just run a marathon," or "I'm going to come down and I'm going to run my first 5k with you." And that's more powerful than anything. That is the biggest fire you can have in your belly. So yes, it did help, but then again, on the other side of the coin, as we just spoke about, it didn't, because all of a sudden I was doing 4-minute case.
The one thing about something like this that is purely looped, whether it's a track or a course, or however long it is, if you're doing backyard ultra, is you're on the same course for that amount of time. With this, I don't know what the gradient is there. Is there any gradient, or is it pretty flat the whole way around?
Flat as a pancake.
Exactly. So like you're running flat loops using the same muscles and the same parts of your body over and over and over again, which obviously means they're fatiguing more and more and more. There's no ups, there's no downs, it's just the same part of your body. Post event, that is obviously going to be a big part of recovery. How has that gone? And you've already described the pain in the last 100k. How has the recovery process gone?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, it's gone amazingly.
Okay,
I was walking the next day. I was walking around town. I had a lot of fluid in my legs, and just to counteract that, I ensured that I was icing and had them raised probably for a week after, during every night. But then again, my sleep pattern was pretty upside down. During the event, I slept 3 6-minute naps, and every night for probably 2 weeks after the event, I was waking up, probably going to bed at 10:30, whatever it is, and then waking up at 2 and not being able to go to sleep until 5. And so that was an issue. But physically, I was actually fine because I was taking it seriously. I was stretching, I was ensuring I didn't get too tight, I had ice baths, I ensured that I was getting good food, nutrition in myself, and ensuring that I had enough carbs and protein just to get over that massive deficit that I was in. So to be honest with you, it's probably been the biggest success, which is great because it means we can go again.
Oh God, here we go. I knew your head would have been going already. Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about pushing your body to a point that, I'm not going to say you didn't know where it could go, because I believe you probably knew that you could complete this, but you open these doors and you open these cans and you open this and that, and then you start questioning, where is the limit? What is my potential? And I think that is the beauty about something like this, and speaking to someone like you and everybody listening to this. I feel like I'm maybe pretty educated to be saying this, having only spoke to you for 20 minutes, but I don't think you know where your limit is, do you?
No, and I can't wait to find it. Hopefully, actually, I take that back, hopefully I don't find it. The day I reach my limit, hopefully, will be the day I die. And I'm going to use that limit to inspire people to push their limits and find their limits. And I fully appreciate the limit doesn't need to be physical. There are people pushing their limits every day trying to find the cure for cancer. That's their limit. And I say keep on going, crack on, please do. And if that's your limit, why stop? We've got this golden opportunity to live in such an amazing world where I currently am, and I fully appreciate there are war zones currently at the moment, but why not push it?
You mentioned the why and the charity element to this as well, and obviously that was a big part of this. What was it like achieving it and realizing, that you've done something pretty amazing for for that side of the challenge as well, for the charity element, not just inspiring other people, but in fact singularly impacting a single person as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I first learned about Will, and this is probably the more shocking side of the story. Is I first learned about him 4 months ago whilst I was doing a ultra race called Highland Trail, which is a big mountain bike race up in Scotland. And I hadn't slept for, very minimal sleep over a couple of days. And someone told me about Will, and then I instantly started crying. And it just hammered home the fact that what happens if I don't have the thing which I love, or it just gets taken away from me in a freak accident. I get run over or something like that, something tragic. And so that was a clear reason why I wanted to do it. And the fact that now we've reached our target and I can give that thing back to him is invaluable. We've actually got it booked in for the 25th, next month, to go and do a demo day and to buy the bike for Will. That's just going to be such an emotional day to give that thing that he's lost back to him, so that he can go back in nature, he can go back to being active, and I don't know, have some freedom back. I can't wait to see his face. I can't wait to see his face when he first jumps on the bike.
What was that moment like when you first, connected with Will and said, I want to do this for you. I want to be able to, provide you with this?
It was emotional. I bought him a pint in Left Hand China here in Bristol, and I said, you don't really know me at all. There was a mutual friend there, Jamie, and I said, I'm going to run 200 miles to get you that bike. And there was a bit of a silence, and then he said, why me? And I just said, why not you? You're as good a reason as anyone ever. I'm going to do it for you, and I'm going to get you that bike. Which probably makes me sound like an absolutely strange bloke, but...
No, not at all, mate. I think like using like it's difficult to say your superpower, but using something that you're brilliant at and you are willing to do. I think that's the thing. It's the willingness to put yourself in an uncomfortable position to help other people. And as I said previously, I think that's obviously something that you're pretty au fait with, and also you're keen to do post event as well, putting yourself in that position to get other people into sport or into doing that first 5k or first 10k. And on that, people will be listening to this right now thinking, you know what, maybe I do want to get on the bike, maybe I do want to buy a pair of trainers and go on that run that I've been putting off for ages and ages. What would be your message to them?
Give it a go. You don't know until you put those shoes on, and I promise you, I still struggle putting those shoes on sometimes, when you just got to fight your way to the door. And I promise you, as soon as you're out the door, it's the best feeling in the world. And it only gets easier the more you do it. And it gives you great perspective on life. It gives you a body which it's just healthy body, healthy mind. It gives you positivity through your body, as well as gives you massive benefits through your mental clarity. So what I'd love to say to anyone is, if anyone's got any questions, or if anyone wants advice on how to get out the door, I would love to have a chat with anyone. I've got a massive driver and that massive fire in my belly to get people active, and I don't think that's ever going to be extinguished. I hope it's not.
Like another little world, isn't it? That's sometimes how I like to describe it. It's like we live in the day-to-day world of, getting up, getting your job done, cracking on with everything you need to do. And then there's this another little world that lots of us know about, but then some people don't. And you're just constantly trying to be like, hey, come over here, come and unlock the door, come and have a go.
I promise you won't regret it.
Yeah, I promise you won't regret it. And then you've entered 500 races and spent a lot of money on kit. You can't stop.
That's it. It's a bit of a slippery slope, but I can promise you it's worth it. You will not look back if you start thinking about getting active. I can promise you.
What's the difference between finishing something like this to finishing a race? Because they are different. You know, this is an event. This is something you've built up in your mind. There's no finish line per se, other than you know, a 200-mile ding on your watch. There's no medal.
No.
But there's still a lot of motivation. But what's the difference?
I wouldn't say there's any difference in the fact that you spend all of those cold mornings, all those cold evenings training for a goal, and the goal is a finish line. A goal might be to get to that finish line quicker, or a goal might just be to get to that finish line. And most of my events are about getting to that finish line. So I'd say it's pretty much identical, just because my goals are just to finish. And that's primarily because most of my goals are blooming far away. It takes a bit of guts and physical push to get there.
I couldn't just sit down with you for 5 minutes and ask you, tell me the one story that you would tell people, or the one story to come out of this challenge. But I'm gonna ask you that question. So, I could speak to you for hours and hours and hours. But if you were in a pub having a pint with somebody and they said, "Me bus is coming in 5 minutes, but I've heard you've done this thing," what was the best thing about it? What would you tell them?
God, that's such a good question. And that I've had quite a few podcasts and interviews recently, and I haven't actually been asked that. Best thing that has come out of it. Well, I've obviously got to say, Will, we've smashed the target, and there was actually two moments, if I can have them. One was Will did a lap with me, and he said that I've inspired him, and it's given him a new lease on life. That's huge, and that's one which I'll never forget. Two is when I was in my darkest, deepest bit, and I was just in absolute agony. I just ruptured the back of my calf. I don't know where or what, but it was just a new level of pain I've never felt. And a good friend of mine, Bruce, turned to me. I was just in tears, and he said, "Listen, Will, you're just going to have to lap it up. You just need to put those headphones in. You need to go to that dark place, put your seatbelt on, and you're going to come out the other side, and you're going to achieve something pretty epic." And that's just opened up a whole nother door, because I can't wait to be in that situation again, where I will just be able to give myself more perspective and to think, I've been in this place before. I know that I just need to lap it up, and guess what? You're going to be popped out the other side, sat in a nice comfy chair in a week's time, talking on a podcast, hopefully inspiring people to go further.